I hate to break it to you, but if you're getting your GLP-1s through an online doc that you've never seen, that is getting pushed to you via Instagram or via TikTok or via Facebook, then you may be getting your GLP-1s from someone that has manufactured them by a questionable, unregulated means. What does this mean? Well, the FDA stopped allowing compounding pharmacies to compound semaglutide and tirzepatide back in 2025 because the shortage which allowed them to compound them in the first place was over. This meant that the only way that you could get your GLP-1s was through a regular pharmacy, through the manufacturer, those types of places. However, that meant that a lot of folks who were getting their GLP-1s for a lot cheaper were sort of left hung out to dry if their insurance wasn't covering it. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like almost overnight, there were a ton of companies that just started offering this, and they're doing it because some of them are using a different manufacturer who is getting around these regulations by having their product manufactured for research purposes only, not for human consumption. Okay, so this means that they are not getting FDA approved. They are basically just kind of skirting the regulation, and their product is really supposed to only be used in animals for testing. Then what they're doing, and I mean, the way that I found this out, by the way, is I was approached by one of these companies who wanted to recruit us here at our clinic to sell their GLP-1s and other peptides, which I'll get to in a minute. What this does is they're technically just a manufacturer. They're recruiting doctors to basically sell them to you. So the doctors then end up acting as a pharmacy. And this is what I learned after talking to our lawyer after that other company approached us. So the doctor starts acting as a pharmacy. Most doctors are not licensed pharmacists, so this puts them on the hook for liability. It's a huge risk, but also it means that those products are not regulated. We don't really know their sourcing. They don't have to go through additional testing. A lot of them are saying they do it voluntarily, but like, who's making them? They absolutely know what they're doing. They're doing it just to make money because there's a ton of money in GLP-1s right now. And the experience of a lot of my patients who come to me after having done some of these programs is that they're seen very, very briefly. There are not a lot of testing done. If there is a problem, there's not a lot of troubleshooting because they're not necessarily even seeing the same person every time. So my recommendation to you is to please make sure that if you are using one of these companies, that they are getting it from a licensed compounding pharmacy. There are some compounding pharmacies who are compounding GLP-1s, and they're modifying it slightly. They're adding something to it. And those are much safer because they are regulated, and they do have to go through testing. And then at least you're getting it through a licensed pharmacy and not from the manufacturer who's not really a licensed manufacturer for this product, and then putting the physician at risk. Anyway, that was a little bit convoluted, but that is the risk that people run. You might be thinking, oh, big deal, I'm getting them, and it's a, for research purposes only. But the big deal is that if something goes wrong, there isn't really anyone to sue because you weren't supposed to be using it as a human being anyway. They're off the hook. The person who gets hurt usually is the provider, and of course, if the patient has a bad outcome, they've obviously had that bad outcome, and that's something that we don't want to happen. So be safe, basically, is what I'm saying. In my office, we don't play that game. I will prescribe through licensed pharmacies only, including the manufacturer's pharmacy if we need to, if they're paying cash or something like that. But be safe, guys.